So, a lingering question I think we've all had when watching Power Rangers is where exactly do these powers come from? And today we'll be specifically talking about where the in space powers come from, because it's not really explained in the show. Like, in Lost Galaxy, you get the Power Vault, which has the powers in them, but you don't really get where they came from. Andros just kind of shows up at the beginning of In Space and was like, hey, I have the powers. Some new Power Ranger powers. Here, take these. And it's never really explained. Except if you've got a keen eye, like this guy. Or a keen ear? I don't know. But I will be explaining how they got their powers and where they came from in today's video. So without further ado, let's get on into it. During 1997, Power Rangers Turbo was airing. However, it was not being received very well by most fans. So they decided to move up their plans for the whole finale of Power Rangers to the next season, and that would be the final season because ratings were not doing that good. So they're like, let's just stop now. But little did they know, they would be creating one of the most loved Power Ranger seasons ever, and that is Power Rangers in Space. And in Power Rangers in Space, they, surprisingly, go to space. Would you believe it? So the Rangers had just lost their powers after Divatox blew up the command center again. Well, I guess Divatox didn't do it last time, but command center was blown up again. And they decided to follow Divatox to the Sumerian planet. During their journey there, we see that Divatox has met up with the United Alliance of Evil, which consists of almost every villain from the previous seasons, with those villains not being included mainly because their costumes were not available. They were either ruined or just they didn't use them. Their leader, Dark Spectre, announces that they have captured Zordon and are draining his energy. They all cheer for this, but a mysterious stranger does not drink. Divatox asks him why he didn't drink. A mysterious lady calls him a spy. He gets up and everyone attacks him. He fends them off, but Goldar pulls off his cloak and it's revealed he's a Power Ranger. Everyone tries to stop him, at least they send foot soldiers after him. However, he escapes with his Galaxy Glider, aka this thing. Dark Spectre demands he's caught before he reveals their secrets. He assigns Astronema, the person who revealed his identity before, to hunt him. Meanwhile, the Rangers are still traveling, but they are caught in a tractor beam. They try to communicate to the ship, but they get no response. They are pulled into the ship. They look around and notice some warm food, hinting that there is actually someone that was just there. The Rangers find the cockpit where they see the Power Ranger from before. They chase him until Astronema attacks the ship. The engine was damaged, but the Turbo Rangers repair it, proving themselves to the unknown Power Ranger. The ship makes a crash landing to an unknown moon. The unknown Ranger, who I will now call the Space Ranger, goes to fight these Quantrons, this season's foot soldiers. The Turbo Rangers follow him to fight, and that's where part 1 ends. However, we pick up right back up in part 2, with the Rangers fighting all the Quantrons. They defeat them, and everyone introduces themselves. The Space Ranger demorphs and introduces himself as Andros, the Red in Space Ranger. The Turbo Rangers introduce themselves as well. They all head back to the ship, and Andros tells them about Dark Spectre capturing Zordon. The Turbo Rangers want to help Andros, but he doesn't want it, as they are planetary rangers. They don't know anything about space. They disagree, saying they can help Andros, but Andros does not want the help. Andros prepares their ship to send them back to Earth, and the Rangers leave. However, they forget Alpha somehow. He is still on the Astro Mega ship. He tries to convince Andros to allow the Turbo Rangers to help him. However, he doesn't want the help. However, Alpha does eventually manage to convince him to turn the ship around and help the other Rangers. Meanwhile, the Turbo Rangers are attacked by Astronema and Quantrons. They are captured, but Andros arrives in time and helps the Rangers escape. He hands them the Space Morphers, and they morph and defeat the Quantrons. Now, we can finally talk where the space powers came from now that we fully introduced them into this world. So some of you might know that the space powers actually did come from KO-35, the home planet of Andros. And it is even shown that on KO-35, when Dark Spectre took it over, he has those powers, along with another Power Ranger, Zane, the first ever Silver Ranger in Power Rangers history. And he's also shown fighting with Andros, and eventually he not dies, but like stops, like goes into a coma pretty much. And so then Andros puts him in like this freezing tube in a secret area in the mega ship for some reason. But eventually the Rangers find him, and he is um, thought to die at some point or eventually, but then he actually does come back and fights with the Rangers. Anyway, Zane is even more evidence that the powers were created on KO-35, and I believe that they were created by order of Zordon as one of his, backup plans, like Gosei, the Astro Mega Ship, the Mega Voyagers, all that. And not only that, but Zordon probably chose Andros and Zane to become the first in space Power Rangers. Because, like, you know, Zordon and Andros, they know each other, even kind of have a father son relationship. So maybe Zordon saved him or something like that. Zordon maybe even gave him the responsibility of choosing the other four Space Rangers, but he gave up on that mission once Zane, died. These powers, like most of the powers from the Zordon era, were eventually destroyed when the Z Wave got sent out into the whole universe and destroyed all of evil in the known universe, except for Scorpio's crew, the demons, the mutants, the orcs, Lothor's army, Mesogog's group, the Trooping Empire, the Morlocks, the Furies forces, Moltor's forces, Scandor's forces, the crew, the Fearcats, the Daishi clan, the Vengex fighters, the Nilox, the Warstar, the Mana, Sledge's crew, Galaxy Warriors, Evox's army, the Void family, and Squid Ink. However, these powers do actually appear again, once in the team up to the 10th power, the team up between the Space Rangers and the Galaxy Rangers. In the team up, Deviant finds the Psycho Rangers data cards. He brings them to Scorpio, where they use them to bring back the Psycho Rangers, this time with shock bracelets to control them. They are assigned a ranger to kidnap. They are all successful except for Psycho Red, which, weird little fact, while I was researching this video, I found out that in the comics his name is Virgil, just kind of a cool thing. Like, apparently all the Psycho Rangers have names. Apparently it's in this comic book, so you might want to go check it out. Anyway, Andros saves Leo from him without his powers, not having access to them since they are locked away in the megaship. Leo brings him to the megaship, and Mike is there, telling him how the other Rangers were captured. Andros opens up the power vault and takes his morpher back, maybe having been recharged after the Z-Wave drained its energy. The remaining Rangers form a plan. Leo and Andros lure the Psycho Rangers and Drakina outside the warehouse while Mike frees the Galaxy Rangers. The Rangers all team up to fight the Psycho Rangers, but before they start, someone shouts in the distance, and it's TJ and the other Space Rangers. They all morph to fight the Psycho Rangers, defeating them. The Rangers then give the Space Rangers a tour of Terraventure. In the rubble of the final attack, however, Psycho Pink crawls out, being found by Deviant. She is saved, but when she is repaired, Drakina tries to control her, but she rips off the bracelet and frees herself, going after the two Pink Rangers. She steals information from Kendricks and finds the location of the Savage Sword. Kendricks chases Psycho Pink and finds Cassie. They both chase her to the planet Ration, the location of the Savage Sword. They contact the other Rangers, but they have to fight Sting Rangers to protect the colonists. The two Pink Rangers fight Psycho Pink, but she gets the sword. Psycho Pink gets the sword and uses it to attack Cassie, demorphing her and knocking her morpher off her wrist. Psycho Pink smashes the sword into the morpher, creating some sort of power vortex. She grows giant, but the other Rangers arrive with the Galaxy Megazord and Astro Megazord. They defeat Psycho Pink, but Cassie is struggling, seeming to have a lifelink to her morpher. Kendricks goes into the power vortex and destroys the Savage Sword, causing a huge explosion, which kills her. Cassie's morpher is fixed, but she feels horrible that Kendricks died. The pink Quasar Saber flies away, and for some reason, the Space Rangers, they just leave. They just leave. Although I've always assumed that, like, Andros sent Corone to go find it. Like, they weren't just like, peace out, suckers. Sorry we killed your friend, kind of. They were like, Andros was like, alright, so we have our own things to do on Earth, but I can send my sister to go find the pink Quasar Saber, and that's how they know who Corone is. In the. I forget what the next episode is called. But the next time the powers appear would be in Forever Red. Of course, with all 10 previous Red Rangers, until we get out of the Zordon era, I'm going to mention this every time because I have to, because someone would point it out that I haven't mentioned it. Anyway, in this team up, Andros actually has a bigger part than most Red Rangers besides Tommy. Andros and Tom actually are the people to recruit the 10 previous Red Rangers. Andros even spying on the Machine Empire remnants. And so they all form together, and then they all defeat the remnants of the Machine Empire with a cool new bike for Wild Force. I mean, toy. That's really what it was. They also bring back the Astro Mega Ship, which is just kind of cool. The Powers then appear once again in Legendary Battle, with Cassie and TJ even reprising their role. However, you know, not everyone is shown, and it's mostly in archive footage, so it kind of counts, kind of doesn't. They appear one more time in Dimensions in Danger, where TJ returns once again to help fight against Draven's army. However, cool thing about this is they actually have cloned forms of them, the um, Orbo Rangers? Are they just called Robot Rangers? I think that's what they're called in that team up. So they are even an evil Space Ranger, not the Psycho Rangers, though. And then they kind of appear one more time. They appear in Cosmic Fury, but just the Astro Mega Ship. And I don't even know if that really counts. So, yeah. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you did, make sure to hit that like button. And I'm not going to ask you guys to subscribe because I've been waiting. If you're watching this, I know you are a true fan of my videos. You actually enjoy them. Thank you all for 1,000 subscribers. I can't believe I finally hit it. I'm at the time of recording this, I'm at 1,160. Like, I couldn't believe I made it finally. I just had to, get one more video out, and that was it. That Super Mega Force custom Gokai change. I don't know what you want to call it, but I made it. It's really cool. If you haven't seen it, I very much recommend it. It doesn't have my voice in it, so you don't have to hear that. Anyway, thank you guys so much for that. Asked me, when I started this YouTube channel, I would have said, "Oh yeah, I'll reach 1,000 subscribers in a few months. A few years, reach 1,000,000." Not happening, but makes this milestone so much better. Thank you all so much, and I shall see you guys in 2 weeks. Goodbye.